Well, Geoff, thank you for taking your time. I know you're a busy guy. How have you been? It's been a while since you've been on this podcast. I know a lot has changed. You're now in the top 10 rankings as well in the UFC. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate that, man. But yeah, thank you for having me on, dude. Just same old shit, you know what I mean? Had dealing with all this coronavirus shit, and just happy to be back in the gym, and just waiting for my next opportunity.
Well, let's talk about that next opportunity. I know you've talked on other podcasts of just kind of the frustration of finding an opponent, finding someone who wants to step in the octagon with you. It's Friday when we're recording this, new day. Anything different? Anything has changed as far as potential opponents?
No. I'm giving up on the whole Chiesa fight because now he suddenly has to get surgery on his shoulder. He has to get some screws taken out or whatever, Very convenient. But other than that, no. Maybe look at Neil Magny, see what happens with that. I'm trying to get something in the month of August, so that's what we're shooting for, and that's what I'm training for. So right now I'm training like I have a fight somewhere in August.
So, just kind of looking at the way the rankings are shaped up, especially after this past weekend with Masvidal and Usman, Gilbert Burns is still in the mix there. You have Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, Tyron Woodley. Damian Maia's right there. I know he's coming off a loss to Burns, but he was on a 3-fight winning streak before that. Is that a potential matchup that would interest you?
I don't think he'll fight me because I think he's looking for his retirement fight. You know what I mean? He's mentioned that he wants to fight Diego Sanchez. And, for a ranked dude to want to fight that type of fight, you know what I mean? That's how you know he's looking for a little bit extra money before he calls it quits.
Do you think he would have possibly fought you if he had beaten Burns?
Yeah, most likely 100%. He would have been more money. Like, you know what I mean? He probably would have tried to go for the belt and want the best fights he can get. But Burns probably just took that out of him. He probably realizes that it's a new dog, it's a young dog sport, and he's an old dog, so he's probably about to get ready to retire. I think. I don't know. I'm just assuming. He
up until the Burns fight, he looked pretty good. Like he caught a third win, at 40 years old. But I could definitely see that whole Diego, two veterans of the sport, and that would be the interesting stylistic match, especially from the grappling point of view. What do you think about Fight Island now? That's kind of opened up new perspective as far as this sport moving forward. I know Dana's talked about how Vegas is kind of up in the air right now. Who knows if there'll be another shutdown? Yeah. But Fight Island's here to stay. So that could be a potential place that you head to. What do you think about that?
I don't like it. I like Fight Island. I like the, Dubai, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to go there during the coronavirus. You know what I mean? If I go there, I want to have my freedom to walk around and do whatever the hell I want to do. But if it push comes.
Sorry, it looks like the audio cut out.
Getting a call.
There it is. No. Was it a robocall? I've been getting those.
It was an actual call.
Okay.
I'll call it back later. But Fight Island, I like the whole concept. I like everything about it. I just want to when I fight there, I want I don't like the whole we got to test like 5-6 times. It's a whole mess.
And then hotel room quarantine. But if you were quarantined, if you had to be, what would you do in that time? I know, are you the type that has to be out and about, or are you okay chilling? No.
I'm perfectly okay. Like I've been doing it for so long. Like I'll just probably sleep during the whole quarantine. You know what I mean? It's easy. Sleep. I'll bring my Xbox. I'll play some video games. And...
Some Warzone? I know you're a Warzone
100%.
guy. Yeah. How are you in that? I just want to mention that. Because you see Max Holloway does these videos, of course, for years, Mighty Mouse, now Megan Anderson. How are you? Yeah. Are you a frustrated gamer? Are you intense? Do you just enjoy it? Do you talk a lot of smack with other people?
I clown when I get. I'm good, but I never take it too serious. You know what I mean? If I die or my team sucks, I won't care. You know what I mean? But I'm good at it. But I just play it for fun. And Warzone's like the perfect game because you get to have your friends, and like communication is key. You can't just run around and do whatever the hell you want. You got to communicate with your team, and it takes a lot to win.
Has it kind of filled that void of not being able to actually compete right now? I mean, with some of the downtime.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's nothing else to do. You know what I mean? Like, especially when like this whole coronavirus shit like first kicked off, nobody was working, and that's when I really got a lot of gaming in because like, what else was I supposed to do?
Well, you mentioned that right when the corona hit and quarantine happened, and I know you had mentioned in interviews that you went back and picked up some shifts back in the restaurant industry. How's that going right now, just overall? And when that happened, everything, especially when a lot of things had to be to go, did you keep in touch with anybody in that industry and how they've been doing?
Not really. It's man, everybody's been struggling. So I like when like, cause I started working back right before it hit, and then once it did hit, like I just opted out. Like I didn't want to work. Like, you know what I mean? Just cause like the other people, they need money more than me, so I don't want to take shifts from other people. So I kind of just like fell back and just went back home for a little bit, and now I'm actually back to work, and things are still a little slow. The only difference is people are wearing masks, and I got to wear a mask, you know. But everything's starting to get back to normal, and as it should be. So hopefully everything gets back to normal within the next couple months, and people are out and about like they always been.
And is this Texas Roadhouse or is this Moxie?
Texas Roadhouse, and I'm actually starting to work at Moxie's too. So I'm gonna like juggle between those two.
Are people, especially after that Mike Perry fight, are more people noticing you now, especially at work?
Every now and then, I mean, I wear a mask now, so
yeah,
like,
so it kind of takes.
Yeah,
they just got to hear your voice more now. We need to hear more Geoff Neal's voice.
Yeah.
But okay, let's go back. Let's go back to fighting, especially this past weekend. I mentioned Masvidal and Usman. What did you think about that fight? Did you get a chance to check it out?
I did. It was boring. Like I can't admit, nobody could deny that. But he did what he had to do to win. Do I what?
Or I was gonna say, do you think even if a full camp for Masvidal, it probably would have gone the same way?
I don't know. And then like honestly, like everybody says full camp, but there's no telling what he was doing. Like maybe he wasn't training for Usman, but maybe he was still training. You know what I mean? So like you can't say the whole full camp shit. Like you don't know what he was doing. It's not like he was sitting on his ass and then it was like, oh, you got to fight in 6 days, and then he had to fight in 6 days. He was probably training and still busting his ass in the gym. So who knows?
Well, it kind of reminded me similar to the approach to Woodley about a year ago. A lot of clinch, body work, foot stomps, which, some people are saying, yeah, I was born. But, I mean, it's a very effective. I mean, you don't want to get in that striking and strain all the time with Masvidal. But looking at, Gilbert Burns as a potential, what do you think? I mean, he could be the next one in line for Usman. What do you think about that stylistically?
Stylistically, it just depends how well Burns could neutralize Usman's clinch. Like, you know what I mean? If Usman gets you in a cage or, you know what I mean, he can hold you there. But I think Burns is a little too savvy when it comes to stuff like that, so it's not going to work like that. It might turn into a Kobe Covington Usman battle. Like, you know what I mean? They're striking the whole time. That's how I really feel like that fight would start going.
And being, two friends and teammates, that's always an interesting dynamic, because in the past we've seen where you looked at Andre Arlovski, Travis Brown, where it is just a straight battle back and forth. And then you've seen where there's been a little more respect, where it was more sparring. Do you think that could happen, or you think, both guys are just going to gun for it?
Nah, they're going to go at it. We're talking about a belt here. You know what I mean? Like, Burns is hungry, and Usman has way too much pride to let a motherfucker take that from him. So they're going to fight.
Have you ever had to compete against a former teammate?
Nah, and hopefully that never happens. I doubt I'll sign a contract or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
It is a very, it's always a very interesting kind of wrench into plans when two teammates possibly have to fight. The only time you really see is like the Ultimate Fighter, of course, but they're not really like home teammates. So it is interesting. And you also have Leon Edwards, who, because of quarantine and everything going on, he's been kind of left in limbo, and still seems like he's kind of in limbo. I mean, do you think him and Burns should fight possibly? I know, I've seen that.
It's just tough, like, because his situation, because it's like, there's certain things that are fair. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
What's fair for him? You know what I mean? Yeah, Burns had a title shot, whatever, but what is fair for Leon? Because Leon, I honestly think Leon would have took Woodley out. You know what I mean? But Burns took that fight because Leon couldn't. So like, what? The question is, what is fair for Leon? I feel like at the end of the day, like fuck what everybody else thinks they need. You got to do what's fair for Leon first, because Leon got fucked over some shit because of coronavirus. You know what I mean? You need to do what's fair for him before you try to do what's fair for anybody else.
And, and of course, and he was supposed to have that Woodley fight, which is a huge fight, which you would have thought if he won that, he would be fighting, Usman, at least maybe later this, in the fall, August, September. And then, I mean, you mentioned Colby. Colby is, he's out there too in limbo a little bit. I don't know what's happening there, but, him and Woodley are now going back and forth. I know Woodley's someone you said that you wouldn't mind stepping in with as well on short notice. So, I mean, it's those two guys still, I know they're a little bit higher in the rankings, but is that someone you want to call your shot against as well?
Yeah, but I know it's going to happen. They got their own plans, whatever, you know what I mean? I just got to go out there and knock out the next dude that signs a contract, and then I'll start talking shit and calling them out.
And now you are really coming out and voicing. When did you feel like, hey, man, it's now time to really voice? Because I know in the past you kind of laid back, let it come.
Yeah. Just saying that I'm just sitting here. It's been 7 months since I fought. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I'm sitting here just thinking, is this going to be like, hey, you were a good fighter, so here you go. Let's push you and boost you up. But it's like, fuck, I gotta talk shit now. Like, I don't like talking shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like talking shit about KS. I don't like the fact that I got to that point where I'm calling him a bitch and shit. But he's just doing some hoe shit, and it's annoying. You know what I mean? I'm number 10. He's number 8. The fight makes sense. Don't act like it doesn't. So it just gets annoying that fighters are just like avoiding stuff because I'm a quiet guy.
Well, I want to mention, like, because for those not involved with the fight game and contracts and understand that, from what you're allowed to go into detail, how does that work as far as like offering fights or you requesting? And I know there was issues a couple of years ago, not too long ago, with Yair, Zabit, that whole thing about. So, from the untrained eye, from people not involved, what's the process?
Honestly, I just go through my manager, Coach Safe. That's my manager. So, like, you know what I mean? He'll talk to the matchmakers, or the matchmakers will talk to him, like, hey, what can you get? Will your fighter be ready for this date or this date? And, like, both parties got to agree on it. And then they send out the contracts to both parties. So, like, you know what I mean? I know that I wanted to fight Chiesa. I know that my coach talked to Sean about fighting Chiesa. I know Sean probably talked to them about Chiesa about fighting me. But just because I say yes don't mean that fight's going to happen. You know what I mean? But if Chiesa has to say yes too, you can't make somebody fight. You know what I mean? So,
well, this kind of entertains that old school of, like, I know they've gotten away from tournament, but tournament almost, I mean, it automatically set you up with somebody unless they get injured, which that happens. I mean, do you feel like, I mean, they're not going to go that route, but do you feel like that's more fair? I mean, that made sense because you had to fight that guy.
You can't fuck nobody over. You can't be like, oh, we're just gonna make this fight just because. Like, a tournament style will be more raw, more real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people have to fight the people they have to fight. You can't avoid a fight and try to pick your fights just because you want more money or you want to avoid somebody because they're too good. You know what I mean? You gotta fight.
And at the end of the day, you'll find the true number one contender. And Bellator has done it for years, and Strikeforce has done it with their Grand Prix. Maybe, and there's so many. We just talked about the whole predicament of Burns, Edwards. All you guys are in the mix. So a tournament kind of is like, hey, well, let's see.
Let's see. Let's fucking find out. I like the whole tournament. So I feel like UFC should do this. Try it out 1 year. See what happens.
Maybe, and everybody's talking about pay. Maybe you throw $1 million tournament.
PFL's.
I'm throwing some ideas out. I mean, but we're kind of at the point, and this is kind of a good problem I have with the UFC, how stacked your division is now, and it has been in the past as well. But so many different players, right? You got a Wonder Boy there, as well. So it's an exciting time. Want to talk to you also, get your thoughts on Holloway and Volkanovski, because the featherweight division's been stacked. But did you have Holloway winning that fight?
Yeah, I did. Not by like a super lot, but he won. He dropped him twice. You know what I mean? He won. Come on now. Like, you really can't deny the fact that he won. It was a good fight. Volkanovski fought his ass off. You know what I mean? But Holloway won that fight. So
do you think it's time to get former fighters, coaches in that judging seat just because so close? Because
I feel like that's the only way. That's
the
only way it should go. Because like these judges, like a lot of the judges, they're not used to watching MMA.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you're not, even you don't have to be a fighter or coach. You just have to be in tune with MMA and be around MMA. Like some of these dudes don't watch MMA like that. Like the people that judge the fight probably don't watch the UFC regularly. You know what I mean? That's probably like their first UFC event that they've seen in like fucking half a year. You know what I mean? You fighters and coaches, you know what I mean? That's how you know, like these motherfuckers, they know about MMA. They know how to score. They know who's winning. They know who's not winning because they have a trained eye. You can't have these people with untrained eyes to the sport judging. Like, you know what I mean? This is people's like livelihoods online. This is not just like for fun. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's just do this and try this shit out. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're taking money out of people's mouths, out of their pocket, you know? I remember there was one robbery. It was like in Texas and fucking dude, I forgot his name, but he was crying. Like he was hurt because he legit got robbed, you know, and he couldn't do shit about it. He lost money, you know what I mean? He could have won so much more money, but they stole money from him.
Well, and that's been a common thing in Texas, you know, for a while as far as the judging. But it's been the negative aspect of the sport, and you know, since you've had a background in boxing and then adopting the whole boxing score and the 10-9 must, I mean, do you feel like there's a way to tweak that somehow? I mean, I'm sure it's got to be frustrating, and just, you know, there's always that don't leave it in the hands of the judges, but you know, there's some durable people out there. Just, I mean, you throw everything about the kitchen sink and they're not going to go away, but still you should feel like the judges are there for a purpose, and you know, you hope that you get a fair shake.
Yeah, I have no idea what to do. I just feel like the only thing I think that you do, fighters and coaches and the judges seats, like former fighters, former coaches, is people that know about the sport. Just don't get some Joe Smo that prefers, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's the only thing that at this point that I think that will work right now. And then we can figure out another way to get qualified judges that will actually judge fight the way they're supposed to be judged.
Well, same with refs. I think that would be another thing, because another fight, the Jan Aldo, a lot of controversy on it being stopped too late. I mean, did you agree with that as well?
Oh, fucking yeah. Well, way too late.
I think her Dean, McCarthy, all those guys, a lot of them, they have that martial arts background. Do you think that's also another thing? We're looking at our judges, but also the refs are there to keep you guys safe. And that fight went a little too long.
Way too long. And better training with the judges too. I mean, the refs too. Like, you know what I mean? They need more training. And refs do have a tough job, you know what I mean? Because it's like they get to the point like, do I stop it? Because if I stop it too early, then I'm going to get shit. And then they let it go on too long, and then they get shit because of that. Like, you got to find, like, the sweet spot when to stop it so nobody fucking gives you shit. Like, because if you'd have stopped it a little too early, he would have got shit. But he stopped it way too late, and now he's getting shit for that. It's like, what? It's tough to find that sweet spot to stop a fight, especially when it's like that. It's not like he was on his back just getting pounded. Like, he was still covering up, you know what I mean? Moving every now and then.
Well, even in the first round, he got dropped, and Jan felt like it could have been stopped even then. There were some unanswered punches, and then he took a really bad body shot. It looked like it might affect him for the rest of the fight in that rib there, but Jan felt like it should have even been stopped then. I mean, you know, in boxing, you see if a guy gets dropped a couple of times in a fight, you know, a lot of the times the ref is just going to step in, call off, but we've seen in MMA a little bit where that doesn't always happen. So it looks like the sport, you know, it's been around for a while, but there's some growing pains still.
100%. We'll get there. We're a new sport, so in the next like 10 years, it's gonna be a totally different sport. Fighters are gonna get paid a totally different amount of money. We're gonna have better refs. We're gonna have better judges. She'll get better. It's like we're going through a trial and error phase right now.
Well, I saw you were snacking right there. What are you snacking on?
Fucking something. What is it? I don't know how to put it. Something healthy-ish, you know, trying to lose weight.
But that's so you have been pretty much straight on your diet even through all this. No quarantine, cheat days, snack.
No, I've been having a lot of cheat days.
What's your cheat day meal?
Pizza.
Pizza's good. Are you a pepperoni? Like, do you go all out, or
pepperoni?
You
I'm basic.
Basic.
Just plain pepperoni.
No mushrooms.
I don't eat the extra shit. Nah, I don't eat all that.
No extra. Because I always like watching your Instagram stories with fit meals because they're healthy meals, but they look really, really good. Just talk about
really good. They're
teaming
awesome.
up with them and how they've helped change your diet, maybe fuel you.
They're awesome, man. Like I think I've been teamed up with them ever since this whole like UFC journey, and they always been there, and like you can't complain about free food, and their food's always awesome. It's not like they're giving me bullshit ass food. Like all their food's good, and like they change it up every week so I don't get used to a certain type of food. And like I've saved so much money because of them, you know, so much money.
What's your favorite of theirs that you're always requesting?
I like their chicken Alfredo. I just like
sounds
pasta.
So good.
That's probably my favorite.
Is pasta kind of your go-to after a workout?
Nah, not my go-to. But I changed it up. But like from there, that's my favorite. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I like. So when I get that, I get excited.
Now going back to Roadhouse, because I love the chicken fried steak there. But if somebody came in there for the first time, maybe they're out of town, because people watching this may be watching from out of DFW. What would you kind of a suggestion as a waiter say? Hey, I think maybe try this.
The New York strip is probably the best steak. Probably the best steak ever, like, because it's pretty much like a sirloin and a ribeye fused. Like, you know what I mean? You get the leanness, but you also get the marbling, the flavor that you'll get from a ribeye. So, like, I'll always tell people to get the New York strip.
Well, Geoff, I don't want to take too much of your time. I want to thank you. It's been a while. Best of luck. Hopefully you get that match here, that fight lined up. I know you said you're in line trying to get a haircut. I'm right there with you, man. I've been fighting this cowlick.
My stuff is horrible, man. I need help.
I got this cowlick I'm fighting for the last weeks. It's like a plane taking off.
Oh, God.
Well, Geoff, have a good rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you soon, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for the interview, brother.